The title of this message is Celebrity or Servant, with a question, because I'm like asking this to you. Are you a celebrity or a servant? Many of us will claim that we are a servant. But if we will check our Facebook post, we will check what we do with our life right now, we will be convicted because we really desire to be known. We really desire to be like a celebrity. And we don't desire to be a servant. What we will know this afternoon is this, that Jesus is calling us to serve so that we will be great in His coming kingdom. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been in a spiritual conference or camp or fellowship? And the camp was so great. It was so relaxing, so comfortable. Everybody's a believer. And you don't want it to be over. You know, I hope it's just camp whole year. Can I bring a food? You don't have conflicts sa camp because camp man na siya, mostly are believers. You don't want it to be over because you know what is waiting and who is waiting for you in your work, in your ministry, in your school, or in your house. You know, I've been to those camp, revival camp before. It's just really nice. I hope di na ni mahuman yung camp because it is just so nice. But the reality is, those times must be over because real life is not a camp. Dili siya conference. It is not a fellowship but a battleground with a lot of tensions and conflict. I said that because as we approach verse 14 to 42 in Mark chapter 9, that would be the opening situation. Remember last time I preached on this book, they were on the mountain of transfiguration where Jesus decided to show His glory to His 3 disciples. And it was a really nice event. And somehow, the Apostle Peter saw that this is the Jesus I want to follow. A king, a powerful Jesus. So Peter said, Lord, I will make a place for you, and for Moses, for Elijah. Let's stay here in this mountain. This is so comfortable. This is a really good spiritual conference. I mean, look at our speakers. Jesus, Elijah, Moses. It is only the 3 of us. One-on-one mentoring. This is a really good place. I want to stay here. Let's stay here. Forget about dying. Forget about your plan to Jerusalem. Let's stay here. This is a really good place. But God the Father said, shut up, Peter. That's not God's plan. Go back to your daily lives, following my Son. So what happened was, they decided to go down the mountain and they encountered life as it is. And what we will see here is that it is true to them and this is also true to you, okay? This is true to you. Yes, those conferences, those camps, training are very important. Very inspiring, you know. You will gain a lot of wisdom. You will overcome some areas in your life na defeat ka. You will find some wisdom in those camps, training, and conference. But in reality, you will still face a daily battle for your soul. And this is what's going on here. So with that in mind, look at verse 14. When they returned, Jesus, Peter, James, and John, when they returned to the other disciples, they saw a large crowd surrounding them. And some teachers of the religious law were arguing with them. So that the disciples, the crowd, and the scribes, they were arguing with each other. When the crowd saw Jesus, they were overwhelmed with awe, and they ran to greet Him. What is all this arguing about? I mean, why are you arguing? Look at verse 17. One of the men in the crowd spoke up and said, Teacher, referring to Jesus, I brought my son so you could heal him. So here's a father with a son that is demon-possessed. I brought my son so you could heal him. He is possessed by an evil spirit that won't let him talk. And whenever this spirit seizes him, it throws him violently to the ground. Then he foams at the mouth and grinds his teeth and becomes rigid. So I asked your disciples, the disciples who were not in the mountain, the 12 minus 3, 9, the 9 disciples, okay? The 9 disciples were left in the mountain. The Father approached them, can you cast out these demons? And they cannot cast the demon out. So I asked your disciples to cast out the evil spirit, but they couldn't do it. Now look at this tension. Imagine this conflict for a while. From this context, it is reasonable to assume that the scribes are criticizing the 9 disciples for their inability to help the demon-possessed. And they were telling the crowd and the Father, these disciples, they are powerless, useless, they cannot even help your son. So ginabash na po nila ang movement ni Jesus sa mga crowd. But isn't it interesting that the scribes or the Pharisees did not cast out the demon themselves to prove the legitimacy of their man-made religious system? I mean, instead, nila criticize ang mga disciples, and instead of helping the child, they themselves did not do it. Why? Because they cannot do it. And they are not right, they are wrong, and they don't have the authority given to them to cast out demons. It was given to the disciples way back, few chapters before Mark chapter 9. Now, this was the kind of conflict that Peter was exactly avoiding by staying up on the mountain of transfiguration. But it couldn't be that way. They simply had to come down off the mountain and deal with what they found. You know what they found? After Salem Camp, conference / training, it was so spiritual, so nice, so glorious. When they went down the mountain after the event, they found disputing scribes, their enemies, a distracted father, a demon-possessed boy, and defeated teammates or other disciples. Now, this is reality, isn't it? Camp will not solve your life. Camps are important, but we still have to deal with our daily struggles. Remember this, spiritual victory, growth, and effectiveness is accomplished not by staying in the mountain of transfiguration, but in being faithful in your daily task as a follower of Christ. Okay, let me repeat. Spiritual victory, growth, effectiveness is accomplished not by staying in the mountain of transfiguration, but in being faithful in your daily task as a follower of Christ. What will Jesus do later is this. Jesus will silence the scribes, as we will see later on. He will comfort the Father. He will heal the boy, and he will teach the disciples. But think about that. No matter how good those camps, training, conference, the Sunday service is, it will never be enough. You will still have to be faithful and strong and fighting in your daily life so that you could win this spiritual race. A young preacher once approached Dr. F.B. Mayer. It's not Facebook Mayer, okay? It's long. It's not Frederick Brotherton Mayer. That's why ilang abbreviate, because grabe po nga name. So Dr. F.B. Mayer, a famous pastor in England, he was asked by a young preacher how he could one day become as influential and well-known as him. And Dr. Mayer responded to this young preacher, "Don't waste your time waiting and longing for large opportunities which may never come, but faithfully handle the little things that are always claiming your attention." In other words, if you want to be successful in this Christian life, don't desire those big opportunities, just for you to be influential or for people to know that you are a good worship leader, preacher, musician, good Christian. Can I have a glass of water, please? Kaya medyo... What he said was, instead, be faithful in your daily life with those daily tasks. What does it mean if you are a mother right now? I mean, it's hard to be a mother because I'm a dad. So kabala ko, it's how hard it is. And, you know, ang mga taga Growpoint, when you were a student, you were so on fire for the Lord. You just want to serve. You know, go out all day. When you become a mom, what you will do is you need to stay at home. Take care of your child. 24 hours. And if naanad kag ministry nga grabe, you will be struggling because I feel like I'm not accomplishing anything for the Lord. I feel like I'm not growing in my influence and in my spiritual effectiveness. But that is a wrong thought. Satan or the devil is tempting you to think that way. Because what God's will for you is this. Give your full attention, full time to take care of your future disciples. And God see that as greatness. God see that as influence. God see that as victory. Okay? What does it mean if you are a member of a team here in the church that is more on serving? Well, I understand that everyone has this desire to be here someday, you know. But I believe in the Sunday service, Jesus is not looking here, or God is not looking who's here. I think He's looking who's on the back. I think nagtanaw siya sa kids point, kinsa nag-serve dito nga amo kita, okay? I think he's looking for those people who are sweating just to set these things up. Those people who are faithful in keeping those receipts para makaliquidate og tarong. People who are cleaning this hall. Faithfulness in little things. But I want to preach. I believe not to give of preaching and leadership. Then that's good. But wait. Okay? God will elevate you someday if it's your time. But for now, whatever His task for you, how little it is, give your full attention on it. And stay on the race. As a church, what does it mean to us? We have envisioned this church before to be big, influential, hold conferences, help other churches. But you know what I realized? We had the wrong goal. Sayop na nga goal sa church. It's not wrong to be influential or to help other churches or to be big. But we should realize that only God can do that. I mean, if He wants to do that at our church, then so be it. But that is not our goal. Our goal is faithfulness as a church. So opportunity ang ihatag niya nato. Be faithful in this building, not the building that we want in the future, but God has given us this place. So ato nang enjoy. Let's give a good testimony. Let's be thankful on a place. I don't think God will give us a hotel someday or a good place someday if dita grateful on a place. Okay, I don't think the Lord will give us 100 convert if di ganita kamao mo disciples sa usa na save pag Sunday service. You see the point? I don't think the Lord will give us a really big preaching opportunity as a church if in Sundays we are not learning His Word verse by verse, slowly, one verse at a time. I mean, this is hard work, but this is the process. There's an NBA team right now in the playoffs. Ang mga NBA team, they will come up with some slogans. There's a team called Philadelphia 76ers, and their slogan is, trust the process. Just trust the process. And there's some wisdom on that. We need to trust God who is doing the process. So if God will make you a known and influential Christian leader for His glory, then so be it. If that is His will for you. But don't seek for it and don't make it as your goal, because if you will do that, pride will destroy you. Pride will creep in sa imong heart and it will just destroy you and make you ineffective. What we should do is we need to focus in faithfulness in little things. We pray for big things, but we focus on small details in our church and in your Christian life. So going back to what happened here. Verse 19, Jesus said to them, "You faithless people, how long must I be with you? How long must I put up with you? Bring the boy to me." Now, Jesus could be addressing this rebuke to the disciples nga wala nakakast, or to the scribes who are criticizing them, or to the crowd, or to the father of this kid, or to us, a faithless generation. We don't really know. It's not mentioned, but he said, "You faithless people," which kind of give you the idea that he will teach something about faith in this setting. Verse 20, "So they brought the boy, but when the evil spirit that is inside this boy saw Jesus, it threw the child into a violent convulsion, and he fell to the ground, writhing and foaming at the mouth." It's like a boy with an epilepsy, nga nga picture, but this is not a physical sickness, this is a spiritual attack. So when the evil spirit saw Jesus, they know that their time is limited in this boy's body. So the spirit decided to make damage as much as he can before Jesus will cast him out. 21, "How long has this been happening?" Jesus asked the boy's father. And he replied, "Since he was a little boy." Imagine that. Baby pa nga kid, he is being disturbed by the spirit. The spirit often throws him into the fire or into the water, trying to kill him. Now we saw the demon-possessed man in Mark chapter 5, right? He lives in the tombstone, cut himself, just screaming. It's a worst case, but this could be worse than that situation. Imagine this, the spirit is leading the boy to jump over a fire, burn himself, or jump over a water to drown himself. This evil spirit wants to kill this man. And so he said, "Have mercy." The father said, "Have mercy on us and help us." Now notice the next phrase, "if you can." He said, "Jesus, have mercy on us. Help us, Jesus, if you can." 23, ingon si Jesus, "What do you mean if I can?" What do you mean if I can? Anything is possible if a person believes. Anything is possible if a person believes. Now, let me put a break and explain this, because this phrase has been misinterpreted and misused by a lot of Christians. They will say, "Oh, look at this. Anything is possible if a person believes. So if I believe that God will give me a car this week, it is possible." Okay? Or if I will say to this wall, I could surpass this wall without hurting myself, it is possible. Anything is possible. So does that mean if my goal is to be the top notcher in the exam, anything is possible? If I just believe in Jesus, then mahimo kong top notcher, because anything is possible. Correct? Okay. I mean, wrong, but correctly that is being used that way, right? Anything is possible when you believe. But that's not the point of Jesus. The point of Jesus is this: when we trust God as true, and all His promises are as true, all things He promises, underline that, are possible. Again, there's nothing wrong with having a car or, being a top-notcher. Let me just clarify. But it's wrong if you will just use God to get those things. Okay? What Jesus is saying here is this: if I will promise you something, then that is possible if you will believe, because I did promise you. Okay? So before we can claim that this is possible, when I believe, you need to ask first, did God really told me that I will have this, or I can be this, or I can get this? Okay? As a church, if we will say, so we will become the biggest church in the city because anything is possible when we believe in Jesus. Question, did God really told us to be that church? Gingna na mo niya ingnek ko because I haven't heard or I haven't know it yet. Did you get my point? Before you say that, you have to understand first, did He really told you? Diha ba siya promise giingon nimo? And maybe you will say, yes, na siya giingon na ho. He told me that kaning unbeliever, he will become my husband. And God told me that if ako siyang pakaslan ron, he will be saved in our marriage because I have faith. Now that is wrong. Why? Because He will not tell you something opposite to His word. Okay? So that's why it's very important to study God's word, to read God's word on a daily basis, so that you could filter whatever is coming inside your mind, because the devil will always tempt you. God has promised you that. Gi-promise na sa Ginoo nimo. Maimuha na ingon si Lord. And imong fickle nga mind mo say, bitaw. By faith. No. That's by foolishness. Okay? You have to ask yourself first, really? Did God promise me to have this? In this case, Jesus has been healing sick people and demon-possessed boy or people. So, we now have a situation, this father already know that Jesus can heal. So he approached Jesus and say, if you can. And Jesus said, I can. I have already promised you that I will heal people in this ministry of mine. So, will you believe me? Look at verse 24. The father instantly cried because he was very convicted. I do believe, but help me overcome my unbelief. I do believe, but help me overcome my unbelief. I don't think the father doubted Christ 100%. Why? Because why would he come to Jesus in the first place? I think he is just like us. We know that Jesus can heal or can answer our prayers, but there are times that on Christian life that we really say, can you really do this, Lord? Okay? That's just a constant struggle in our daily life. But I like how the father reacted to Jesus' instruction. He was humble. He was convicted. He cried out, Lord, I do believe. He responded in faith. I do believe, Lord. But he was not so proud not to admit that naa siya'y unbelief gihapon. Because he said, but help me overcome my unbelief. Help my unbelief is something a man can only say by faith. You cannot pray this if you don't have faith. Charles Spurgeon said, while men have no faith, they are unconscious of their unbelief. In other words, people who don't trust the Lord don't admit that they don't trust the Lord. Because they believe they know everything, they will say, I trust the Lord. That's why when you evangelize and they will say, do you know Christ? Yes. Do you love Christ? Of course. Do you want to serve Christ? Of course. That's an indication that they don't really understand what faith is. Spurgeon continued, but as soon as they get a little faith, they get saved, you grow spiritually, nanakay faith, then they begin to be conscious of the greatness of their unbelief. So right now, if you are struggling with believing the Lord, saying, "You promise nimo," that's not entirely, totally bad, okay? Sometimes because of your faith, you are now very sensitive and conscious sa greatness sa imong faith. It's like this. When you are growing sa imong life, when you are growing with your battle over sin, you will soon see how sinful you are and how holy God is. You know, the more kind of grow in your spiritual life, the more you will realize, I still need to grow. Layo pa day ko kaayo. It's the same with our faith. The more we grow in our faith, the more we become conscious of this unbelief that is in us. And we just have to deal with it. And like the Father did, ask the Lord, Lord, help me with this doubt. Help me with this unbelief. I believe you. Verse 25. So when Jesus saw the crowd of onlookers was growing, he rebuked the evil spirit. Listen, you that makes this boy unable to hear and speak, he said, I command you to come out of this child and never enter him again. And then the spirit screamed and threw the boy into another violent convulsion and left him. The boy appeared to be dead. When the spirit left, people are like, this boy is dead. A murmur ran through the crowd as people said, he's dead. It's like a wave of chismis. Sa first layer, he's dead, he's dead, he's dead, he's dead, he's dead. And abot sa tumoy, he's dead. 27, but Jesus took him by the hand and helped him to his feet, and he stood up. Some theologian says that this is Christ rising a dead boy, but it's not really mentioned here in the book of Mark, but it is actually possible that this boy died because of those convulsions and those, physical damage that this evil spirit had. 28, afterward, when Jesus was alone in the house with his disciples, they asked him, Lord, why couldn't we cast out the evil spirit? So when they were alone with Jesus, the 9 disciples asked Jesus, Lord, nganong wa man naman ito na cast out? Which is a good thing. They asked Jesus. When you ask, you learn. And so Jesus replied, this kind can be cast out only by prayer and fasting. I forgot to mention, but it was part of my notes that Jesus has already given the authority to cast out demons to his disciples, right? But there are evil spirits that are just strong, and the disciples cannot cast it out. Ephesians 2 verse Ephesians 6:12 describes different ranks of demonic beings. So, in other words, there are evil spirits that are less powerful compared sa uban. And the spirit inside this boy is just so powerful, the disciples cannot cast it out because of their weaknesses as well. So Jesus explained, it's because of your lack of prayer and fasting. Now, it is not that prayer and fasting make us more worthy to cast out demons. It is that prayer and fasting draw us closer to the heart of God, and they put us more in line with His power. And they are an expression of our total dependence on Him. So that's why Jesus said, you gotta pray more and fast more. Not because it will make you more worthy to cast out demons, but because when you do that, you are expressing full dependence on God, and you are more in line to His power, and so you can accomplish that difficult task. Warren Wiersbe said, Jesus already gave them the authority to cast out demons, yet the authority that Jesus had given them was effective only if exercised by faith, but faith must be cultivated through spiritual discipline and devotion. So living by faith, this is a very common cliche sa mga Christians right now. Live by faith, live by faith, by faith, by faith, by faith. But it will be useless if you don't cultivate your faith through spiritual discipline, praying, reading God's Word, and devotion, worship, being, plugged into a church. So your faith will not be strong if you just say by faith, by faith, by faith. And you don't really read the book or, read the Bible or, discipline yourself spiritually. So that's what happened. Now they left that place and they began their journey towards Jerusalem because Jesus is now heading to that place to die and to pay for our sins. But verse 30, leaving that region, they traveled through Galilee. I like the next phrase because it says, Jesus didn't want anyone to know he was there. Why? For he wanted to spend more time with his disciples and teach them. A good leader will realize that there are times that you will need to be with a crowd like this more often. But also, there is a time in which you would decide to say no to the offer of travel, no to the offer of coffee, no to the offer of, jamming with the church members, because you would need to be alone with your disciples. In our context, it will be your small groups or the people that you are reaching out. You should work hard to find those times in which you are alone because you will teach them. This is what Jesus did. He decided to say, don't let the people know that I'm here because I want to spend time with my disciples and teach them. He said to them, the Son of Man is going to be betrayed into the hands of his enemies. He will be killed, but 3 days later, he will rise from the dead. Basically, the same thing that he was talking about a few verses ago. He is trying to make them understand that, Christian life is a life of suffering. And I'm not here to put up a political kingdom or a new government. I'm here to die and to establish a spiritual kingdom. And a group will be a group that is called the church, who will focus on spiritual issues as well, not on the social and the political issues. So yung explain nila, because these apostles, disciples, they want to be great. They want to be celebrities someday. They want to be like the senators of Christ. They want to be leaders. They didn't understand what he was saying, unfortunately. And we can say again, because kapila naman nag-explain ni Jesus. Again, wala nila nasabtan, however. And the most tragic part, I believe, is the last phrase. And they were afraid to ask him what he meant. Now, before that, they asked him, Lord, wala naman ito na-cast out. They learned, we lack prayer. We're not that close from you right now. But here, a very important lesson, and then they failed to ask. If they would have asked, I think wala si Jesus nga, wajud gyapon mo kagets diay. And that would be embarrassing, but that's okay. Sometimes we need to be embarrassed to grow spiritually. Nakasabot mo na? Sometimes you have to admit to your leader, ako kagets na pwede pa. Saan mo din ako? And you will feel embarrassed, but later on you will learn. Here they were afraid. Why? They're proud. Garboso mo nang di mangutana. And so, they did not get it. Can you relate? Can I remember ko pag Tuesday sa theology lesson, okay? Nag-theology lesson me pag Tuesday, very nice and time. It was so good. Na nagpalaway ako sa ditigaten, pero joke. It's a challenging Bible study. And sometimes it was supposed to be a question and answer time after the discussion, and nobody asked question, and I said, why are you not asking questions? Kami Rino sige pangutan and some guys. And I said, why are you not asking questions? Nakasabot mo tanan? Or mahadlok na jud mo mangutana? Or you're not thinking? Okay? Dapat niya God, or you're just so proud to be embarrassed. Kaya, wag ka kay bawon ang butang. This is what's happening to these people. I mean, wala sila nangutana ni Jesus, and so they failed to understand the meaning of the passion of Christ. So, verse 31, let's recover from them. Okay? Ilan na itong problema, wala sila nangutana, but it should not be our problem. Don't be afraid to ask if there's some spiritual thing that you don't understand. I learned a lot sa early Christian life by asking Kuya Ben a lot of questions. Sometimes Kuya Ben will throw a question, and we were like, may kasabot na. But we will be humble enough to admit, we don't know, Kuya Ben, can you teach us? Okay. Before, there were few church members who approach now after the sermon saying, "Say, palabot mo to kuya," or "Kaning a question kuya." Okay? I mean, I take that as a good sign that this person is growing and is humble. Don't ask me today because it will be weird. Okay? Ask me next Sunday instead. So anyway, moving on, verse 31. After they arrive at Capernaum, so Jesus was like, let's just go. Okay. So after they arrived at Capernaum and settled in the house, Jesus asked his disciples, "What were you discussing out on the road?" Because while they were walking, the disciples are disputing among themselves. Kung saan na inyong gi-istoryahan? Normally, Jesus will be ahead of them and these disciples are walking behind him. Nakatry mo na, like, naunakan, these people that you're guiding, like, they were like, what's going on? So Jesus asked them, "What are you talking about, guys?" But they didn't answer because they had been arguing which of them was the greatest. That's why I know that they're proud. Because this is like their favorite topic. Like, kinsa may the best disciple na to, guys. Okay? Anak si Peter, James, and John, kita na mo sa transfiguration. Like, unsa man na? Wow, mo kita to ba? Ingon si Jesus nga di may mingon ninyo ba? Ayan na lang mapangutan na ba? Moses, Elijah, Jesus. Woo! And then high five ang tulog. And they were like, so they were arguing who's the greatest. Kisay kinamayahan mo preach, kisay kinadaghan ng demons nga nakas, who will be chosen as the right hand of Christ. This is like their favorite debating topic. They all counted on Jesus to take over the world as king, Messiah, or just, to our culture, they thought nga si Jesus may president sa Israel. And then iyang i-overthrow ang Rome. That's why they are arguing kung kinsa ang piliyon ni Jesus to be his right hand in that government. When they were silent, when Jesus asked them, this was an embarrassed silence. It showed that they were ashamed of their obsession with greatness. It was a healthy silence though. It was a sense of shame and proof that some of the messages of Jesus was slowly sinking in sa ilang heart. That's why when Jesus asked them, "What are you talking about?" they know that Jesus will not like their answer. And so they were like, "Oh, okay. Not to share because I don't think he will like this." So they are now getting it, but very slowly. Now, the next verse 35 says that he sat down. So apparently, Jesus is like, I think I know what you are discussing. Maybe he overheard it, or he just sensed it that there's a competition in their group, because leaders sometimes see that certain theme, they're competing. So Jesus sat down, and sitting down is actually very important if you are a rabbi just like Jesus, because when a rabbi sit down and will ask his disciples, "Come over here," that means that he is going to tell them a very important thing, and he will teach them. So he sat down. This was important, again, because they are arguing kung kinsa ang greatest. By the way, we have the temptation, right? I mean, kami nga mga pastors, we don't say it, but sometimes namin nga ng temptation, like, gusto ko nag-conference, ang Growpoint Bohol, may pinaka, or mag-staff conference, like, among report, may kinabyuhan. This is just, we have to fight those thoughts, because it's not, I think it's a demonic thought. Hindi siya spiritual thought, okay? So Jesus said, "Come over here," and he said, "Guys, whoever wants to be first must take last place and be the servant of everyone else." You wanna be first, you must be last. You wanna be great, you must serve. I mean, what does it mean? We can see the example of Christ here. How humble he is. Because notice this, they were arguing who's the greatest. Okay, and I think that is a slide, so I'll just read my point. The question at hand was who would be the greatest, right? Jesus could have answered the question, Hey, dummies, okay? Mga bulok mo, I'm the greatest. Now, he has the right to say that. He is indeed the greatest. He is God himself. But Jesus did not put the focus on himself. Because, for an example of greatness, Jesus put forth the last and the servant. In other words, I'm going to teach you how to be great, but at the same time, I will show you. Ako dapat ang focus of attention right now. But I'm not going to exalt myself because I'm setting an example for you. Of course, Jesus is the greatest in the kingdom. So when he said last and servant, he was really describing himself. My example. And he accurately expressed his nature. He was truly first, yet made himself last of all and servant of all for our sake. Does that mean nga if naipila sa ATM and then ako na? Ano yung pagtanong ho, daghan pa kayo, hoy, ako'y last. Ano mo text ka, ma, pamelo sa lagbugas diya, kaya I'm the last here. Nagpa-last ko, okay? Is that what it means? When Jesus challenged us to be the last of all, he is more concerned of our attitude. Are we servant in our attitude, which will reflect in our action as well? The desire to be praised and to gain recognition should be foreign to a follower of Jesus. Think about that. That's a very convicting, that's a huge thought. The desire to be praised and to gain recognition should be foreign to a follower of Jesus. In other words, if you will seriously follow the Lord, if you want to be great in the kingdom of heaven someday, you must not desire praise and recognition here. Just serve silently. Now, people will recognize you and they will praise you, and that's okay if you did not initiate those things. I mean, reality is, nadyo mo appreciate nimo. And there will be people who will promote you. Let them do the promotion. Let them do the praising. Don't do it for yourself. And again, musod na po si Facebook ani because just like Pastor Robert, I just see a lot of Facebook things that are just expression of pride sa atong heart right now. Why do we post? What do we post? Okay, is it to be influential? Or is it to minister? If money mong goal, then it's okay. If you want to post to help other people, I think it's possible. But most of us will just want recognition and praise. Look at my new hair. Look at my achievements in life. Look at my meals right now. Ano kapilan mo sa ng food? I mean, anyway, din ako maraan, anak kayo mas ko, pero naman kinahanglan mo sa na food. Because here's what we are communicating. We are not really saying, I hope you will be blessed. But what we're saying is, look at my food right now. And sometimes kita ng mga Christian, we are so good in covering things up. We will make it appear spiritual, but our goal deep inside is just really, we just want to express our pride. For example, how do we do that? Spending time with so-and-so in this beautiful place, blah, blah, blah. And again, I'm not saying that it's all wrong. I mean, God will judge our heart. I'm just saying the possibilities. I don't want you to do this, okay? Spending time with so-and-so, and it's so nice to learn from you and impart to you what I've learned from God. I hope you will grow, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes nato nang i-post because we just want to be recognized as a good discipler, right? We just want to be known as I am a responsible minister or responsible Christian. Because let me ask you a question. If dili mo na i-post, mag-change ba ang imong nabuhat nga person? No, right? No. Ma-discourage ba ka spiritually if dili mo na i-post? Answer me? No. Di ba mo grow ang church? O dili na mo na-inform? Mo grow gyapon ang church. Kaya may Facebook sa una. Pero nga nang need man na to inform ang public. And the next argument is, why do we post only great and good pictures? Again, I'm not saying everything is bad. I mean, I post things on Facebook that are not spiritual, okay? But my point is, be careful, okay? Be very careful, because we might have the same attitude nga naa sa mga disciples here. We just want to be recognized, praised. We want position. We want to be known. Why don't we serve silently? Why don't we not desire praise and recognition? Why don't we just be genuine servants? Why don't we do it without asking anything for return? It should be foreign to us. Jesus wants us to embrace lust as a choice, allowing others to be preferred before us, and not only because we are forced to be last. Now, don't misunderstand Christ. He is not abolishing ambition. He is not saying, ayaw na mo pangandoy. Ayaw na mo pangandoy to be great. What Jesus is doing is, He recreated and redirected that ambition to be great. For the ambition to rule, He substituted the great ambition to serve. For the ambition to have things done for us, He substituted the ambition to do things for others in a great way. So, gi-change, gi-recreate, redirect niya nga desire nimo. It's not wrong na kay nga nga desire, but put it in a biblical perspective. Desire to serve others, desire to bless other people, desire to be humble. That is God's will. One of the famous evangelists, D.L. Moody, had a story. People came from around the world to attend his Bible conferences in Northfield, USA. One year, a large group of pastors from Europe were among the attendees. They were given rooms in the dormitory of the Bible school. As was the custom in Europe, the men put their shoes outside the door, just like what we do here, of their room, expecting them to be cleaned and polished by servants during the night. Because nga na sa Europe, but it's not the same in US. So of course, there were no servants in the American dorm, but as D.L. Moody was walking through the halls and praying for his guests, he saw the shoes and realized what had happened. He mentioned the problem to a few of his students. Can we clean their shoes? But none of them offered to help. Without another word, the great evangelist gathered up the shoes and took them back to his own room, where he began to clean and polish each pair. I believe he got this inspiration from Jesus washing the disciples' feet, talking to them about servanthood. Now, Moody told no one what he had done, and that's great. That should be our attitude. We serve and then don't publish it. Let other people publish it. Because D.L. Moody did not tell anyone what he had done, did not even tell the pastors, by the way, I cleaned your shoes last night. Use that as an illustration of servanthood. Wala niya gi-mention. So he told no one, but a friend who interrupted him in the middle of shining the shoes had helped him finish the task later, told the story of what had happened. That's God. If God will make people know what you're doing, then let God work. Despite the praise and fame he received because of God's blessing on his life and ministry, Moody remained a humble man. Now, that's a good example of service. We leaders should have those desire to serve, to do those lowly tasks for us to be a good example sa mga leaders, sa mga members at sa church. But there's also another way of serving that is often overlooked in church. There's another way of serving that is often overlooked in the church. It is mentioned by Peter in 1 Peter 4, 10 to 11. It's in the screen, but I would want you to turn there if you can. Peter said, God has given each of you a gift from His great variety of spiritual gifts. Use them well to serve one another. In other words, in the church, we serve one another not only by saying, can I clean your shoes? Or can I clean your house? Or can I, take care of your kid right now? But we can also serve by saying, I have this spiritual gift. How can I use it for other people in the church? Peter went on, do you have the gift of speaking? Do you have the gift of preaching? Then speak as though God Himself were speaking through you. In other words, work hard in teaching them. Work hard in preaching. Make sure you're accurate. Make sure your message is from the Lord. And then you have the gift of helping others. Do it with all the strength and energy that God supplies. I find that interesting that when he mentioned preaching, wala ningon si Peter nga, do it with all the strength and energy that God supplies. I mean, it still need those supply from the Lord, okay? But when he mentioned the gift, the background gifts, if you have the gift of helping others, do it with all the strength and energy that God supplies. For me, it means preaching and helping other people is as important as each other to the Lord. Why? Because He gave the same enablement. Wow. Enable niya ang preacher, at the same time, God also enables those who are setting up the chairs for Sunday service. Both are important. Then everything you will do will bring glory to God through Jesus Christ. All glory and power to Him forever and ever. Amen. So when we say we need to serve one another, use your spiritual gifts to serve. One of the ways that you are not being a servant is you don't use your spiritual gift to church now. Something spiritual gift. It will be another sermon for another Sunday, but a quick overview. When you got saved, the Spirit of God lives in you, and God actually has gifted you with a ability from Him in which you can help the church grow. Now, different ang gift. Okay, there are gifts that are for leaders, for preachers, for missionary, gift of giving, all those help and mercy, all of those gifts. Naay gift ka daw sana to. Sure ka, wala man gifted ni mo sa amin. Mutingog naman matumban, but naaya po siya gift. Either undiscovered or unused. Asa man mo, discovered mo or unused. I wish na si Peter na, do you have the gift of giving? Remember your pastor, okay? Pero wala siya naingon. Okay, but naay gift of giving. My point is, we have to use our gifts sa church if we want to be servants. Okay? So we cannot always conclude that one who is not sweating is not serving. Okay? Nagets na ninyo? Kung kay wa siya gipaningot, that doesn't mean din siya servant. Or kita pud nga, okay. Or kamo pud nga, ingana inyong ministry sa church. On the other hand, we cannot always say that one who is not yet leading or preaching is not growing in their service. We have different spiritual gifts, and we serve in different ways. We need to appreciate that, and we just need to believe in each other and dili ta mo judge. Okay? So we who have the administration gifts, leadership, preaching, the gift of sa payoban niya gift, we don't look down on those people nga gifted of help and say, what should kay growth sa imong service? Pila na years mo lagyan po na imong ministry sa church. Kung sama ka, may mong leader, may mong teacher, may mong giver. Kamusad nga, if inyong gift is for background, you don't also say, kung sama na sila mas panington sa service. Hayaw ni nila. Banglakan mo ng speaker lang. Pusto na ko na imong liog. I hope dito mabutan na. But the point is, you will say nga, what ta nag-serve? Because we fail to understand nga different ang atong spiritual gift. Okay? It's just the way it is. Now, for sure, the admin gifts should do difficult tasks, dirty tasks, okay? But it's just how it is. If spend na ko akong time, the entire week, sa pag-map sa center, pagpanday-panday dito, I mean, kinsa may mo preach in Sunday? Bailot ta, kamo din ako dito. That's not gonna work. If kamo sad nga nasa set-up team or kids point, if you will spend studying the Bible verse by verse, kay mo create mo sermon, basig ako'y pawalihon, then who will set the things up? Uy, alauna na, nag-study pa ko din, himo PowerPoint. Yes, naman yung mga PowerPoint right now. So, nag-gets in extreme illustrations, but the point is, we serve in different ways sa church. You are a servant of the Lord. People here are servants of the Lord. Now, there are people nga di gud ma-include nimo og didto because they choose to not use their gift, and God will take care of them. But our point is, di na to i-judge ang usa because we are a team. Let's move on kay wala na time, taas pa ko. So, let's finish this. I think we are in verse 36. Okay, 36. Then, so while Jesus is teaching them what it means to be a servant, then he put a little child among them. Taking the child in his arms, he said to them, anyone who welcomes a little child like this on my behalf welcomes me, and anyone who welcomes me welcomes not only me, but also my Father who sent me. Now, these are one of the parts of the scripture wherein we say, connect, Lord. So previously, mga greatest. This is the part that I had the most difficult time to understand. But this helped me, so I think this will help you. So Jesus drew their attention to his nature by presenting a child as an example. In that day, children were regarded more as property than individuals. So right now, precious kina to mga bata karon, but in their culture, dili kaayo. They were regarded as more property than individuals. It was understood that they were to be seen but not heard. Monay status if you are children in the biblical times. You are seen, but you're not heard. You're not that important. Your voice don't matter. Your opinions don't matter because you are a children. So I list some things that Jesus could mean in connection sa servanthood ng lesson. Jesus could be telling the disciples that they must value people for who they really are in Christ. We should not be proud and elevate ourselves higher than others by viewing them as quote-unquote things and not as people that Christ died for. Because we cannot serve people well if we believe that we are more important than them. You're just things. I'm a flesh. I'm more important than you. I'm more valuable than you. So, and then Jesus could be telling the disciples that they must be willing to serve even the children who cannot really give them any material returns for their service. Be willing to serve even to the children, to those people who cannot give you something in return. Jesus could also be telling them that they must be humble and not be ashamed to be associated with people who are needy and unheard or not famous, just like these children, because that is a good expression of servanthood. Don't be afraid to be associated with people who are needy, unpopular, because they need Christ. So I think this is an illustration to his previous lesson about servanthood. So we need to treat people as valuable. We need to serve even if there's no return for us. Here on earth, there will be in heaven, but not on earth sometimes. And then we need not to be afraid to be associated with them. Because notice this, if you are humble servant sa imong heart, you would accept people like kids who are also helpless, needy, walay kwarta, okay? You will also accept people like them because deep inside you're not seeking for greatness. You will accept people nga dili makaad sa imuhang what do you call that one when you apply for a job and then credentials. Di na ko ni disciple kaya di makaad sa credentials, Di na to ni focusan sa ministry sa church kay Dili maka-add sa atong church credentials. I think Jesus is pointing that out here. Don't be more focused on credentials. Focus more on serving. Romans 12 verse 16 is one of the most convicting verse. So personally, Paul said, live in harmony with each other. Don't be too proud to enjoy the company of ordinary people. That means don't be too proud to enjoy the company of people who are less talented, who are less mature, who are less fortunate than you. And don't think you know it all. Philippians 2:3-4. Don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Don't post to impress. Okay. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourselves. Don't look out only for your own interests, but take interest in others too. Sometimes you hear a conversation sa mga parents nga na mga babies, and you will see nga naadjuding pride nga magawa sometimes. How does it happen? Something like this. The other mother will say, oh, akong baby kay kamaunag ABC. And then the other Christian parent will say, oh, parehas ang anak. Pati XYZ, kay balo na siya. Pati 1, 2, 3. Manap na anak, mao ba? Nice, kay muskila na po daw ang bata sa puan hapit sa aning school. Mao ba? Akong anak ni school na po daw nga school. Pero mahal lagi ang tuition, pero okay naman. No, parents, I'm also talking to myself, pasag din ang good nga mo istorya sa bahin sa iyang anak. Take interest sa iyang life, sa iyang kids. Okay? Don't insert your kids. Dili mo na maong topic. And you can apply that sa inyong workplace, whichever area sa inyong life. Let the other person talk about the things nga gusto niya istoryahan. Okay? And don't insert your self, yung tupungan or palabuan mo sa hayang iyang anak. Or yung trabaho, or yung salary, or yung experience. Uy, nice kang chocolate hills. Oh, barak, ang Palawan, yun. Praise the Lord, kinakatuko Palawan. Come on, guys. Let's just give them the time, okay? Pasagdi lang sila ng istorya. And if they're also sensitive enough, they will also ask about you. Kumusta mo mong anak? And that's the time. Akong baby, nga ni sad. But then ayaw palabuy ang anak, okay? Mama, mga mama dire. Okay? And papa also. Di kayo, papa man. Gusto niya mag-NBA, kumusta ang NBA? Magpalabawi may sa mga team na mo, pero not the kids. So the point is clear, the way up is down. The way to be great is to be unknown. Here. In ancient China, it was fashionable for wealthy men to grow fingernails so long that their hands were unusable for basic tasks. Now this demonstrated that they did not need to do anything for themselves. A servant was always there to wait on them. Maski mo kag baso, di na nila mahimo because naman sila is servant. Now the world may think of this as greatness, but God does not. But Jesus declared that true greatness is shown not by how many serve you, but how many you serve with a genuine heart. Let's finish the chapter. Anyone who welcomes a child like this on my behalf welcomes me. And anyone who welcomes me welcomes not only me, but also my Father who sent me. In other words, when we honor and receive a child, or people who are like child in their character, in their humility, and we are willing to serve one another, and people who are needy and not popular, we honor and receive Jesus himself, and even God the Father himself. So my question is this: what do you desire? Do you desire to be a celebrity or a servant? A lot of pastors wants to dress like celebrities. If mo preach sila because they want to be famous. A lot of worship leaders wants to look like band members on the MTV because because we want to be relevant, but sometimes we just want to be like a celebrity. Okay? I want to spare you away from those thoughts. Don't be very concerned kung unsa imong appearance. Don't be very concerned kung unsa imong look. Okay? be concerned, how's your heart? Are you desiring to be a celebrity or a servant? There's a story about the astronaut many years ago, from July 26 to August 7, 1971. The eyes of millions of Americans were on the Apollo 15 moon mission. In that mission was astronauts David R. Scott and James B. Irwin, who landed on the moon and spent 18 of their 66 hours there outside the spacecraft. They covered over 17 miles of the surface in a specialized vehicle people dubbed as the moon buggy. Now, upon returning to Earth, the astronaut James Irwin, a professed Christian believer, declared, "As I was returning, I realized that I'm not a celebrity, but a servant." I think he realized how small he is. "So I am here as God's servant on planet Earth to share what I have experienced, that others may know the glory of God." And what he realized is something that we need to realize. You are not called to be a celebrity Christian. If God will make you influential, known, then so be it. But don't make it your goal. We are not called to be famous. We are called to be servant. So between celebrity and servant, I hope you and our church would choose servanthood for God's glory.